So I've been getting requests from many of you to do a video on airline stocks here in 2020. And you guys want to really hear my thoughts on companies like Delta, United, American, and even Southwest Airlines. And you want to know whether I'm personally buying these stocks right now, whether it's a good time to look into this industry, or if you're better off just not investing in this sector. So do I think that these stocks are currently on sale here in 2020 after we've experienced this market crash so far? Well, I'm going to answer that question and more questions along with whether I'm investing in the sector and what stock specifically I am investing in if the answer is yes to that. Now, like I said, if there's any other video topics that you want to see on the channel, comment down below, and the comment that gets a good amount of thumbs up will be a future video. I'm looking to you guys right now for video topics, ideas on what you want to see during these volatile times. So help me out, comment down below, and let me know what you want. And if you appreciate that and you appreciate this video that I'm making, all you have to do is hit the thumbs up button. Let's try to get 500 likes on this video as a thank you for making these subscriber request videos. But anyways, let's get into the meat of this video. Let's discuss airline stocks. Let's discuss what I think about this industry, what I think about the specific stocks. Let's compare them. And then finally at the end, I'm going to share with you my personal strategy when it comes to these stocks. So I thought we'd start with some high-level facts here on the industry and then dive into the companies specifically. So here we can see an ETF named JETS, and it holds all the major US airline companies like Delta, United, American, and more. This gives us a good idea of how the industry as a whole has done so far this year, which, as you know, has taken a beating, sitting down over 30% year to date, with most of these losses actually coming in the last couple of weeks. And it's not a secret why these stocks are down so much recently. However, when we compare to a previously similar situation back in 2002, we can see that the sell-off has been much more extreme. Who knows how low we go with these stocks? Who knows when we finally find the bottom in these stocks? But this could be just the beginning of a bigger decline in the industry. This, of course, is a result of businesses banning travel both domestically and internationally, countries banning travel to certain other countries, and consumers just being too scared to travel right now with all the fears out there. A combination of these factors has led to what we just saw, a 30% drop in the airline stocks due to a big drop-off in demand. And this has resulted in airline stocks hitting their most oversold level since 2001. And yes, that means this is currently even more oversold than during the last recession. So it's clear that these stocks are presenting some sort of value here at these prices. But of course, we need to analyze these companies better to understand if it's actually a good time to start nibbling in on some of these positions. So next, let's go into the comparison charts really between the major airlines here. And let's try to figure out which of these four looks like the best investment, if any. So here we have the big four: United, American, Delta, and Southwest. And we can see that Delta is the biggest player in this space with a market cap of $27.74 billion. American Airlines is the smallest with a market cap of $6.28 billion. However, they still have the most amount of employees, ironically, at 133,000. What's also interesting is if we look at the high-level valuations here with the PE, we can see that these stocks are priced like there's no growth ahead, or very minimal growth at that. United has a 4 PE, American is the lowest on the list with a 3, Delta has a 6, and Southwest is the highest of the bunch here with a 4 PE of almost 10. Looking at their growth, things continue on this trend. Delta has the strongest revenue growth, American and Southwest have the slowest, around 2%, United has the best net income compound annual growth rate over 10%, but American has the worst at negative 13%. And really, because of this poor growth in revenue and profits, all of these stocks have pretty pathetic 5-year performances in a time when the market was absolutely raging. American is down 69%, and the best performer of the bunch, Southwest, is up by a measly 0.51%, which is essentially flat. This means that for 5 years, this whole sector has done extremely poorly, and depending on the stock you picked, you could either be flat on your money or very red. And this is even after holding for 5 years, which is a good amount of time. So this right here is a big red flag for me. Comparing this to the S&P 500 over the last 5 years, you can see that this sector well underperformed the market, with the S&P returning almost 45% in the same time period. But the silver lining here could be that 3 of these stocks do pay out a decent dividend with a fairly low payout ratio, so this is at least some income you would have received while holding these companies. So this is at least some income that you would have received while holding these stocks for the last 5 years. It isn't enough to come anywhere near how the market has done, but it is something. Now let's compare their income statements to see if we can figure out why one may look more attractive than the other. The first 3 pull in around $45 billion in revenue each, where Southwest pulls in around $22 billion. They all have positive net income, however, American is the worst of the bunch with $1.69 billion. And one thing to keep in mind is that this is when times were good back in 2019, when things were good in the economy and people wanted to travel. So now with all these issues around us, imagine how bad these numbers will be for 2020. And clearly the market sees this and it's pricing all of this in, which has resulted in steep sell-offs. Now I want to jump over to their balance sheets here to see exactly why American has been the worst performing and why Southwest has been the best performing. Delta has the smallest cash balance of $2.89 billion with around $18 billion in debt. American has around $3.83 billion in cash with a whopping $33.4 billion in debt. Southwest has $4.07 billion in cash with $4 billion in debt, which is the only company here actually which has more cash than debt. And lastly, we have United with the most cash at $4.94 billion with a lofty $20.45 billion in debt. And really looking at this, we can see why Southwest trades at such a premium compared to the others 3 and why its performance has been significantly better than the others as well. Likewise, we can see why American has performed the worst out of the bunch with that low cash balance and high debt load weighing it down. Okay, so clearly the numbers here when we look at these airline stocks are ugly to say the least. This is an industry ridden with debt. In my opinion, nothing really looks good in terms of the growth potential, the fundamentals, or even the balance sheets for these companies. The best of the bunch, in my opinion, which is pretty clear if you looked at the information that I just showed you, is Southwest Airlines. However, there are much better businesses out there than having to force myself to pick one of these companies here, and that's kind of the direction that I'm going to be going. Also keep in mind that these airlines have a history of filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection during tougher times. And with debt loads like this, it does not surprise me. So that's just another red flag to keep note of, another risk factor really when it comes to investing in this industry. And really, the more I dig into these companies and this industry as a whole, the more red flags keep popping up, which is why I'm personally not interested in airline stocks right now. But that being said, I am still interested in the airline space, that is with air travel. I think it's going to keep growing over the next few decades as more and more people are able to afford plane tickets and want to travel the world and see new countries. I believe that this is just going to keep growing exponentially, especially with countries like China and India where the middle class keeps growing and those people want to go explore the world. They're going to be buying tickets, they're going to be flying, and the airline industry as a whole will keep growing. So really what I'm trying to say is I do not want to miss out on the potential here for this industry over the next 10 or 20 years. So my personal plan here to approach this sector is to own Boeing. Because what most of these airlines do is purchase their airplanes from either Boeing or Boeing's competitor Airbus. It's pretty much a duopoly right now with Boeing and Airbus really controlling the whole market. That may change over the next few years with more competitors coming in from China or other countries. But as of right now, that's how it stands, and I believe that this is the best way to play this sector, at least for me. So unlike airline stocks, Boeing actually has a different approach to this. Yes, they still make airlines. Yes, they still are dependent on people traveling, but they only have one major competitor, like I mentioned. They are a worldwide company, and they have a massive moat where no other company can just come in out of nowhere, start building airplanes, and selling them to the masses. That's just not going to happen. It's going to take years and years of development, approvals, and all that kind of stuff for a new competitor to actually become a serious threat here to Boeing. So I'm not worried on that aspect. And also, unlike the airline industry, Boeing actually has very strong fundamentals. And if you're able to look past the last year and a half or so, where the company has been going through some struggles with the 737, which is abnormal, it's not going to be the norm for the company moving forward, I think that Boeing is kind of a no-brainer here with a strong balance sheet and strong free cash flows. I personally believe that the worst in terms of the news cycle is behind Boeing. And you can see this by the FAA coming out and saying things like the 737 certification could come out very soon, which is sooner than expected. And once the airplane does get certified, Boeing can release their 400 planes that they have sitting in inventory, realize over $100 billion in revenue, and begin production once again on the 737 MAX line. This will not only help Boeing to get back to where it was back in, say, 2017, where it was earning over $12 billion in free cash flow, but it's also going to help the US economy as a whole, because Boeing is a massive company that so many other companies rely on to sell parts to. As you know, the US economy is struggling currently. We are expected to take quite a big hit here in the upcoming quarters with the GDP numbers, and I think that it's in the best interest of the FAA and the government to really certify the 737 MAX as soon as they can, once everything is safe and the planes are good to fly again, because it's going to be another factor that helps stimulate the economy back to growth in the back half of 2020, in my opinion. Now, if you want to hear my full in-depth opinion on Boeing, why I own the stock, why I'm buying the stock, make sure to check out this other video here. I'll leave a link in the description down below. I go in pretty good detail there on why I like Boeing as a company, and not much has changed since I made that video, so make sure to check that out if you are interested in looking into Boeing yourself. So really, to sum everything up, the bottom line, I do not like the airline stocks. I do not have any plans to own any companies in the airline space directly. However, my plan to tackle this industry is by owning Boeing. Also, keep in mind that Boeing has other sectors like aerospace and defense that has been growing pretty nicely over the last few years as well. So you are getting better diversification by owning Boeing versus owning one of these airline stocks directly. But anyways, guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Are you a fan of any of the airline stocks? I know a lot of you have been picking up either Delta or American Airlines recently. I'd love to hear your thoughts on why in the comment section down below. And also, if you want to see any other videos on a specific topic, let me know. I am making videos like this based on your requests, and all you have to do is really comment and just like other comments down below, because the most popular ones will be future videos. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to invest positively, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.